We're back to finish up this drawing. In looking at it again, I realized I had a couple of details that I either missed or didn't quite have right. So I'm going to change those now. I'm looking at the zipper, and it goes really above the neckline. Here's the neckline seam, and it looks like the zipper goes partly into the hood. So I'm going to change that now before I do the other half so that I don't have it wrong on both. So I'm going to move that up, turn the handle so that really I think the hood goes more like that. I'm going to have to also change the stitching. So I'm going to grab that anchor, move that up, roll the handle around. Maybe have to go up a little more, pull the handle down a little more. And then this really is just kind of a fold in the hood. So, oops, I don't want to move my guideline. So I'm going to just kind of back it off a little bit. It's just kind of showing that there's a fold there, and in the hood it's folded over. And then also I noticed that there is a drawstring coming out here. Not sure why it would be down here, but it is anyway. So I'm going to put a little drawstring coming out there. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the shape drawing tool. Find the ellipse. If I hold down the shift key when I'm drawing any one of these shapes, it'll make the proportion be a perfect square or a perfect circle, height and width the same. So I'll hold the shift key and I'll draw a little circle, which is the grommet that the drawstring comes out of. And then I'm going to actually draw the drawstring. For this, I'm going to get bigger so I can see what I'm doing here. Hold down the space bar once again. I can pull my document down. Now I think I might need to make that grommet outline just a little bit smaller. I think 1 point's a little too heavy. So let me make it down to half a point. All right, so now I'm going to do the drawstring here. I don't want to just draw a single line to make the string because that would be like it'd just be a thread. So I'm going to take my pen tool. I'll draw the single line first. Maybe make it like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the black arrow, which selects the whole piece. I'm going to copy and paste it because I know the drawstring is the same width all the way throughout. So I'll move that in right next to, maybe like that. And then all I'm going to do is taking my pen tool, now here I want a rounded end, so I'm going to grab the point and pull, click and drag so that I get the rounded end. On this end, I think I'll just take it straight across. So click, click, it connects to my thing. So there's a little piece of a drawstring. It's like a little worm or something, doesn't it? I'm going to move it into position. If I move it right here into the center of the grommet, now it looks like my grommet's a little bit too big. So I'm going to hold, now if I hold down the shift key to keep it proportional, if I hold down the option key, it also makes it reduce from the same from all the way around. So that looks like a grommet with the drawstring coming out. Now, of course, I want to not see the grommet through the drawstring because it's not transparent. So I'll select this, and just like I did with that tab on the sleeve, I'm going to fill it with white. So let me get my swatches up here. Here's white. My fill is in the foreground. Click on white. It fills it with white. Now you see it looks like it's coming out of the grommet there. So there is my drawstring. I'm going to put one here too, just because I think there would be one there. I can't really tell in my photograph. My photograph isn't really that great. So I clicked and dragged around it to select the whole thing. I'm going to Control C, Command C on my Mac, Command V, copy and paste it, and I'll get another one and put it right up here. Now I don't want the strings to look like they're exactly the same because it just kind of looks silly. So I'm going to take the white arrow now with a direct selection, select just the end 2 points here. I'll select one, hold the shift key, and click and select the other one. That selects them both. Now I let go of the shift key, grab them, and see I can move them so it kind of makes my drawstring a little different. I like that better. So I have two different, I like that better totally, so I'm going to do this a little bit down too. Not quite the same, but I didn't like it sticking out that far. So there's my two drawstrings. I think that's, let me do Command 0, which fills the page with my document. I think that's really all I need to do to, as far as it goes. The zipper I'm going to do after I flip the halves. I only want one zipper in the middle, so I'll do that afterwards. So that's it. So the first step I want to do before I copy this and flip it, what I'd like to do is I would like to group everything so I don't accidentally lose some parts, because right now, you see, even if I use this black arrow, I have the outline, I have this line, I have the stitching, I have the drawstrings, everything's an individual part. I want it to be all one piece. That when I use the black arrow, I'll select everything. I won't have any chance of losing any small parts. So I'm going to click up here, hold down the mouse and drag, and that selects everything. Now you notice I selected the guideline too. I don't want that in the selection. So just like you can hold the shift key and multiple select, if it's already selected and you hold the shift key, it takes it out of the selection. So there, I've deselected the guideline. So everything's selected. I'm going to group it up here under Object, Group. Also, you can see the keyboard command is Command G or Control G if you're on a PC. So now it's grouped. So what that means is now if I click on any part of it, the whole thing gets selected. So that makes it a lot less likely that I'm going to lose a piece of stitching or a pocket or some kind of important detail. Okay, so now I'm going to select it. What I want to do is I want to flip it, copy it and flip it. I can copy it and flip it in one action. I could copy it now and then flip my copy, but just like there's always an easier way to do something. There's different ways to do things. The easier way is to do it in one step. If you can't find your tool to reflect it, you hold down and you look, because remember this little white arrow and this little white triangle in the corner means that there's tools hiding behind that. There's reflect, that's what I'm looking for. So I get the reflect up. Now with the reflect up, what it will do is it will reflect it. But you know, I'm kind of just guessing how I want it to look. Command Z. Just like I said before, anything the computer can do better than you can do, which is not creative things, but things that have to do with math, let the computer do it for you. So in order to let the computer do it, I know I want to flip it exactly 90 degrees on the vertical axis. So, oops, I'm moving out of here. I'm going to double click the reflect tool and I get a little menu. I'm going to move it aside so I can, now I want to click preview so I can see what's happening. Is that what I want? Yes, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to flip it 90 degrees on the vertical axis. If I say OK, it flips my part and then I don't have the original. So what I want to do, Control Z, is I want to double click this. Oh, I keep moving out of range here. I'll get my reflect menu. With preview, I see it has what I want it to have. I'll say copy, and then what it does is it gives me a copy, and my original is still there. So now all I have to do is just move my copy in place. I'm using the arrow key because I know it's in the right place top to bottom. I just want to move it to the left, and that makes, even though it's a little bit slower, it makes sure that it stays all together. I'm going to blow this up really big so I can make sure I have it lined up properly on the edges. Hold down the space bar. You can see I can move it over a little bit more. Whoops, now it's too far, so I'll move it back. So that should do it. Now the last step, what I want to do is using that black arrow, I want to group both halves, because right now this half is grouped and this half is grouped. So I'll select this half, hold down the shift key, select that half, and I'll go Object Group again. You can group groups within groups within groups, so you can keep grouping as many times as you want. It's just then if you want to ungroup, you have to ungroup in the order that you grouped. But now I did notice that because I wasn't exactly on the center line, I'm going to go in really big. Some of these lines meet up and some don't quite. I'll take my white arrow direct selection tool. I'll just grab that point and just slide it over a little bit. So you can do these little fine tunes when you get this far. Let me look at the top and see if they line up. That one matches. Oh, this one doesn't. Whoops. Stop. These don't quite meet, so I'm going to grab this, move it over. Grab this anchor, move it over. That one looks good. This one looks like it has to slide over. Okay, all good. Now, I'm going to get a little smaller again. I might want to see how this hood is sort of leaning down to one side. It looks a little bit more natural that way. So I could, if I want to, modify the hood a little bit by finding the point here and maybe moving it up a little bit. Maybe over here, moving this one down a little bit. So it just gives it a little less regular look. You don't have to do that, but I kind of like that a little bit better. It looks like the hood is just sort of naturally falling over a little, which I think makes sense. Now I'm looking at this one, and once again, I feel like I made this too close to the neck. Look how wide this is here and how narrow this is here. So I can still make these corrections. I'm going to use this white arrow. I'm going to box around this, and what I'm going to do is it's going to grab all the points, the end points here. It's going to grab the end of the neckline. Then I'll use my arrow key and I'll just slide them to the left. I'm going to count the number of clicks so I can do the same thing on the right side. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do the same thing here. I'm going to select all those points and I'll click to the right this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's looking a little bit more like the jacket here. Actually, I think it even could go more. So I'm going to select again. 1, 2, 3. Select again. 1, 2, 3. I think that's looking a little bit more like it. Now, I think at this point, I might want to modify this a little bit. This doesn't have to be exactly equal side to side since the hood's falling down on this side, maybe it's going to be a little higher up there. Maybe this is going to be slightly less of a fold. Okay, I like that. Now, the last thing that I'm going to do is put in the zippers, because other than that, I believe this jacket is pretty much done.